Setro! I'm sorry about that. That was like an unfunny joke. It was really meant to trigger you. You know, the name Setro should trigger people's PTSD. I'm sorry, it's not funny. It's not funny. Let's get serious. If you haven't noticed already, Type Soul is in a rapid state of decline. It hasn't even been a full 2 weeks yet. Well, actually tomorrow it has been 2 weeks, but as this video is going up, it has been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks. And the number of people playing this game is starting to get lower and lower by the second. I kid you not. As I'm recording this video, Type Soul is at 63,000 concurrent players. And yesterday, midday, Type Soul was around about 85,000 concurrent players, which actually isn't that bad if you think about it. But to think the game peaked over 200,000 players during the first 2 days of its relaunch, well, that's over 50% of the player base gone in less than 2 weeks. Essentially, it's 2 weeks now, but as I'm recording this, it's less than 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, losing over 50% of your player base is absurd. It's crazy. But why is that? Why are players leaving the game so soon, so fast? Well, in this video, we will actually be breaking down all the reasons that I believe players are choosing to opt out of Type Soul for good. So do me a huge favor before we get into this, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If Setro booming don't touch you, I'm a kid. No, let me stop. Now, before we actually get into the negative things about Type Soul, let's actually talk about the one positive, why we actually like Type Soul. How about we talk about the reasons why people actually enjoy, or should I say did enjoy, about Type Soul. And if we're being completely honest, the main thing is the combat system. Now, Type Soul's combat system isn't anything flashy or over the top. At least it used to be a little bit more grounded than it is now, but even now it's not over the top. It's not completely overbearing like Deep Woken. Deep Woken now is literally a cluster. This isn't a Deep Woken. And even the parry timings can be a little bit wonky at times, but the game is pretty smooth, responsive, fun, and the main thing, satisfying to play with. At its base, every weapon is completely different from one another. Swing speeds, timings, critical strikes, etc. Every weapon has its own personality, which makes you take into account how your build synergizes with each weapon along with the skills that you have equipped. Though the game actually only has a handful of skill trees, that being Hakuda, Kendo, Kido, Medic, and Speed, pairing these trees with whatever weapon you're using alongside it, and also with the faction that you are actually playing, all of this entails for a diverse skill set with a lot of build variation, which 90% of Roblox anime games are just not able to pull off successfully, and those that do try just fail. Look at all these shit, sorry for cussing, look at all these trash parry based games that keep coming out. It's just disgusting to look at, boring to play, and super generic. As well as each faction having their own unique sub modes and full modes that are actually kind of unique to obtain and actually fun to play with. Shinigami's having the visored, along with the visored quest that works really well, and in a quite unique way, having to locate the NPC that will spawn somewhere in Heiko Mundo, kill that NPC, and then having a quest to complete in order to make your incomplete visored mode that has drawbacks into a complete version with no drawbacks, further advancing your build and making your already unique character somewhat stronger. Not only is it cool, it's fun to use, it's cool to play with, and obviously when you activate your mode, it gives you buffs. Whatever variants you have actually help whatever build or playstyle you're catering to. Arancas would get the equivalent of sub modes pretty early on into the game if they choose to. Once progging to an Ajuka, you have to kill other Ajuka NPCs in order to get mask cracks, and once you finally get 25, you turn albino and you need to kill another albino in order to become a Vasto Lorde. I want to be a Vasto Lorde. Then you can finally take your mask off in order to become a Vastocar, which gives you significant buffs as well. And honestly, honestly, who cares about Quincy? I don't want to waste my breath talking about Quincy. As well as that, even when it comes to obtaining your full modes, the process actually gets tedious with stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, but at least in the old Type Soul, it was super tedious, but it was actually worth it in the past. It was interesting, it was fun, especially when you paired it with playing with friends, having to do raids. Yes, doing 150 or 170 raids is a lot, but you actually got significant drops that you actually needed to progress from these raids, like Hagoku fragments, which you would need for your Vizard, and skill boxes, etc. So it was actually worth grinding to a certain extent, and honestly, raids were actually fun. They were fun. Doing 170 of them wasn't fun, but doing raids in general was fun. New Type Soul is very much easier, so it doesn't really matter or apply. New Type Soul suck in general. Anyways, moving on. Using full modes, as in Bankai, full res, and whatever the fucking Quincy knit equivalent is always fun. Popping your mode, whether it's in KT, the good thing about stuff like Bankais, you're actually able to use them in raids. That's what made them significant, because raids were super important to farm. If you have your Bankai running up in a raid, especially gladiators, you have your Bankai, you literally just one man the whole server. Genuinely fun. Those experiences were fun. Going to our opposing server during a raid in old Type Soul and then just being able to pop during those raids was actually what made it super fun. Randomly popping in KT serves no purpose and wasn't really that interesting in my opinion. As well as that, getting your Bankais and things of that nature, especially for doing things like Clan Wars, because Clan Wars actually used to be important. Clan Wars used to actually work, but Clan Wars actually was important, and you would actually get important drops that you can only get from Clan Wars, and playing with your friends in Clan Wars is always fun regardless. But popping your Bankais was always, Bankais and whatever other equivalents there are, was always good. You know, being the first people to pop your Bankais and get the upper hand in Clan Wars was always fun. It was always interesting. I remember when people would pop Balance and everybody would just run away because Balance was so crazy when it first came out. And now we don't have those experiences because Type Soul doesn't even work. Where's Clan Wars? Oh my gosh, these devs suck. Sorry, I forgot we're still talking about things we did enjoy about Type Soul. Let's go to the things we don't like about Type Soul. Now, the first thing we don't like about Type Soul, honestly, just from the end of my last points, is current Type Soul and its decline. Honestly, the current state of Type Soul is barely playable. Pressing that play button is very hard. All the new content they've produced is very, very, very boring. But let's talk about the bugs. Imagine playing a game and it's completely functioning on the most part. I'm not gonna lie, the Battle Royale mode didn't. But I digress. Imagine playing a game and it's completely functioning, and then the game closes down, and in the time span of 8 months, you have the developers rage baiting, saying things like, I can release the game whenever I want, putting out sneaks and making it look like the update was going to be amazing. After being baited by the developers for 8 months straight and bragging about how good the game is, imagine the game finally releasing and it's barely playable. And when I say barely, I'm not even over exaggerating. The day one wasn't playable. Day one wasn't playable. You couldn't even spin, you couldn't buy things to like spin your Shikais or your Fullbringer abilities or whatever you want to call it. You couldn't even get your Fullbringer abilities, first of all, because the Shikai equivalent quest didn't actually work until like end of day 2. So a lot of people were soft locked. The game barely worked. The menu wasn't working. You couldn't switch servers. You would have to alt F4 out the game to go to a new server. Everything was broken. Until this day, the menu barely worked. It's barely work. You can't mute music in some places. Some places don't even let you click on the UI. The game 2 weeks later barely functioned. Okay, the bugs. Why are these bugs not patched? Why are bugs tied to direct gameplay not patched 2 weeks after the games come out? Anyways, let's get back to where I left off. Don't get me wrong, games will always have bugs. This is crazy. Not to this extent. During the first 1 to 3 days of the release, players couldn't couldn't even progress because the game was so broken. Things that shouldn't be broken because it ties to the user experience, such as the in-game UIs, the menus, obtaining your higuys, obtaining your modes, even using portals to go to different servers, did not work. Until this day, some of these things are still not working or just super buggy. 2 weeks later, and this game has what, 10 to 20 developers? Honestly, don't get me started on these developers. Don't get me started. Anyways, the list goes on. We could really be here all day listing bugs that did and didn't work, still don't work, still can't function, should work, still. But I mean, look at this bug.
This right now. So the songs that are playing isn't a playlist. Oh, it's this fucking guy, bro. Oh, nuts. Wait, it's bugged. Okay, like, yo. Okay, let's relax. Okay. Let's just come on. Let's just come on. Wow. That's crazy. These devs suck. These devs actually suck ass, bro. These devs actually suck ass, bro. How do you bug a game this bad, chat? How many devs are there? There's like 20 devs. 20 devs, and the game's still this bugged, bro. Hello? Fix the game, bro.
Huh? The fact that matchmaking has bugs like this now when the game actually used to work is genuinely insane. And to put icing on the cake, we found out from testers that they didn't even get to test the game. A lot of people were blaming the bugs and the issues on testers, and then testers came out and they put their hands in there. They put their hands in there and they said, hey, Setro didn't even let us test. He just gave us a day, said we can hop in game, and had us aura farming in KT and PvP. Is that testing? That's not testing. That's not testing. That is not testing. That is not testing. So the fault doesn't really lie on the testers. The fault lies in the developers. Dave, Setro Booming, Chaotic, and honestly every single one of them, because there is no way these developers did not know that the game was barely functioning. There's no way they didn't. Next, we have the gameplay, or we can say content, but I guess they align with each other, so fuck it. And this kind of ties to the last point. 8 months of shutdown to develop and add content that was actually already being worked on long before the game shut down, by the way. Hell was being worked on long before the game shut down for the 8 months. Want to throw that one out there, guys. So don't think it's only 8 months they didn't work on the game. They haven't been working on the game way longer than that. Not funny. To only get what feels like a troll. It feels like we got trolled. Feels like we got trolled with the amount of content that was actually given to us once the game finally did re-release. Let's start off with Fullbringers. Let's start off with Fullbringers. Fullbringers were 100% half-assed. They were definitely rushed, and I promise you they were probably worked on 2 months before the game released. Even that. 2 months is me being generous. On release, you couldn't even get your Fullbringer ability because the Sheikah equivalent didn't actually work. So you were soft locked at base. They eventually fixed it on day 2 or 3. I don't remember when, but they eventually fixed it. Only to find out Fullbringers didn't actually have any content after the Bankai equivalent, or Fullbringer. That's what we call it, Fullbringer. Let's just say the Bankai equivalent. Once you get your Bankai equivalent, there's no content. Literally nothing. You cannot actually do anything. There's no sub modes. There's no true version. You can't even go to hell. There's no content for Fullbringers. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, in some of the raid servers, Fullbringers weren't even like coded into like actually being in the raid. Anyways, there's no content with Fullbringer. It's pretty bad. Literally nothing. And that's pretty sad. That is actually pretty sad. There's nothing to actually do for Fullbringers after you get your full version. And Fullbringers are actually kind of interesting. Another, I felt like, right, with the Hell content expansion, obviously Hell is the main part of it. But if you're bringing another faction into the game, they should have made this faction have depth. They literally just half-assed. Like, Fullbringers have less content than every race would have had on OG type soul release. Fullbringers got nothing, literally nothing. They just kind of exist for no reason. Nobody even uses them anymore. So it's just kind of like to the side. Even with how broken things like Zangetsu and Time Tells No Lies is, there's no point of actually doing anything with those slots because there's no content centered around Fullbringer. And it's genuinely pretty sad. What the heck did you guys do for 8 months? Throw that one out there. It's pretty disgusting. It's pretty sad, but it is what it is. And another insane thing about the gameplay or the content is hell itself. Everything, almost everything about it actually sucks. From spending hours farming 120 mobs, where sometimes you don't even get credit for killing the mobs, so you actually end up killing way more than 120 mobs. I know, right? Stupid. They're terribly designed bosses, and I've been screaming Type Souls PvE sucks ever since they added the boss raid feature, game mode, instance play. The Type Soul developers couldn't code anything PvE wise. This game's PvE is terrible. It still is, and it always will be. But the stupid bosses that are not even farmable legit, so you have to find a way to cheese them. You have to find the cheese method, or you need to glitch the bosses in order to actually kill the bosses, because they're able to spam abilities, they move stack, along with having hyper armor, and some of them even pop modes. So on top of having all these stupid spam abilities and hyper armor, they get their health back. They have health packs. And if you manage to finish all of the nonsense that the developers of this game found fun and immersive to make, you now need to spend 20 plus hours, by the way, between 5 to 25, but realistically 20 plus hours trying to obtain your true mode, which you kind of have to get. Even though it's pointless and you can't actually use it anywhere except for KT, you're kind of forced to farm it. Now, it would be better. It's not okay, period. But it would be better if these stupid, degenerate, sorry, money-hungry, children-loving pedophiles didn't force you to sit at your PC for 20 hours. The worst part about it is you can't AFK. It would have been somewhat more decent if you could AFK. Leave your PC on and go about your day. Whether you have work, school, it's still summer for some, but school's starting for most again. A lot of people don't have time to be tied to their PCs for 20 hours at a time. So leaving their PC on, finding us somewhere safe to sit down and just AFK and farm, right? This way, the developers still get the premium payout and they lose less of the player interest, right? Because it's like, okay, at least I went to work, I come back, and I'm getting closer. I'm not done because work's only 8 hours, but at least I'm closer than I was before. These stupid, money-hungry, greedy predator, they're literally predators, by the way. These guys actually like children. A handful of them. Not all of them, not all the developers on the Type Souls. A handful of them like children. Yes, disgusting. We should actually do our best in order to get these niggas. No joke. Anyways, I'm straying away from my point. The fact of the matter is you have to spend 20 hours sat at your PC. You can't AFK. You can't go make some food because every in-game 30 minutes a raid starts. And if you don't click yes, it teleports you out the server, which means you can't actually farm your true because you get taken back to main menu. And you can't auto click a yes button because the yes and the no button rotates every single time the thing pops up. So, and the AFK method I found is now patched. I haven't actually checked because I rolled my true theater to get flour, and this stupid game is making me do the highway quest again, where I have to kill the boss at the end in order to get back into ring 1. Why have I got my true and re-rolled my elements? And I have teleporters. You have the library teleporter, you have the ring 1 teleporter. You can't use any of the teleporters anymore. I re-rolled my element and now I can't use my teleports? Are you kidding me? No, actually send these children-loving scumbags to jail. Send them to jail. Who thought that was a good idea? You have to reset the whole of hell. You have to reset the whole of hell because I changed my element. Whose idea was that? Send these child lovers to fucking hell. Don't send them to jail. Send them to hell. Sorry, I got a bit angry. I don't like pedophile. Anyways, these scumbags are farming premium payout in the worst way possible because they would still get premium payout if they allowed people to AFK. But for some reason, they're forcing you to have to sit at your PC for 20 hours. And there's no reason to do that other than them just wanting to inconvenience the player base. Literally. No, actually send these guys 6 feet under. I swear on my life, bro. These guys are actually the worst types of human beings you can ever imagine. Why are these child-loving predators rich? Tying into my last little rant, the reason 3 is the TypeSoul developers. Not only are these scumbag developers looking for a way to make people play their games lives miserable by forcing them to sit at their PC for 20 hours for no reason, it makes it even worse that these guys are actually terrible people off the internet as well, on and off the internet. One of the main figureheads, Setro Booming, Dave, we won't even speak about you. You're lucky Setro took the spotlight. Setro Booming has been outed on multiple occasions for stealing money from the game, stealing money and not paying other developers that work on the game, and has been shown that he engages in inappropriate conversations with people that are underage on the internet. Yes, there's proof. And he has admitted to engaging in CP. I won't even say what CP stands for, but he has admitted to heinous acts with CP. Send this guy to jail or the graveyard. Anyways, and there are other developers on the team, not all of them, just a handful of them, that are actually in the same position as Setro Booming, but we won't go into that because they're not as important as Setro, unfortunately. Upon finding out this actual terrible information, a lot of people have taken a step back from TypeSoul, just not wanting to engage or support people like this, and that's fairly understandable, and I actually support their claims of doing so because they are in fact terrible human beings. And not that I'm a great human being, but at least I'm not a pedophile and a scammer and someone who would steal someone's hard-earned money from their family, and just someone who doesn't enjoy fun, because why would I ever make people do 20 hours of doing nothing? These guys are terrible people. I can't lie to you. I'm getting annoyed recording this video. I'm not gonna edit any of this prompt. I'm just gonna, because I'm irritated. I shouldn't have to put effort into types. Anyways, let's move on, because if I say the things I want to say, this video will get demonetized. Now you might be asking, Ags, even after all the passion you just put into the words that you said, why do you and other people still play TypeSoul? And if we're being quite honest, I don't know. No, I do know. I know. Honestly, I do know. The answer to that is honestly simple. There's nothing else on this platform. Wow, I can't speak. There's nothing else on this platform to actually play, especially at the moment. Most Roblox anime developers are working, well, that are working on good games, have been working on these said quote-unquote good games for multiple years now. Some 2, some 3, some 4, some 5. And when you're waiting multiple years, let's say when you're waiting 3 to 4 to 5 years for a game, the developers aren't the most transparent in the world. Let's just say people start to give up hope. Coming like the Avatar, literally, there's no hope. And you have other Roblox developers that are producing games, and let's just say their games are not that entertaining. They're just not entertaining. They don't pique interest. They don't raise your eyebrows. It's kind of boring. I'd rather do nothing than play some of these games that are being produced, I'll be honest. Now, to put this into perspectives, right? If you're starving and you have 2 options, a pile of shit or a burger that's been discolored and has mold growing out of it, I'm sure you would not actually indulge in the pile of shit, and you would probably end up taking the nasty moldy burger. And in this case, TypeSoul is the burger that has gone off, and the Roblox platform and some of these new games are the pile of shit. So it's exactly why we're still playing TypeSoul, unfortunately. And with all that being said, TypeSoul will 100% end end up fading away into nothingness again. The player base is already slowly fading away, very slowly, but slowly will catch up. It will catch up. As soon as a good game comes out, I'm very sure most of the player base will honestly migrate to a different game. And I'll be honest, I cannot wait for that to happen. Until then, we're stuck with Type Soul. And no, I don't want to play Kaizen. Don't want to play. Rell, please save us. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.